Guitar. Hey guys, how y'all doing this morning? Let me
morning.
adjust this a little bit.
Wake up, wake up, wake up. Oh, baby.
We are talking about sexual healing today, which is so much fun. Hi, my name is Jess.
And I'm Reed, and this is Just Look at It. We're running a little late because we were experiencing a little sexual healing.
So maybe we should do an adult content warning real quick.
Honest in marketing. Yes, adult warning, content warning. If you are not seeing this red live button in the left-hand corner, I should say icon, if that's not there, you're watching on the replay, and that's just okay because
just hashtag replay.
Comment. Yeah.
Hashtag replay so we can like come and respond to you because that's like really important. And if you are here, like let us know where you're from. We are in sunny Las Vegas on the smoky West Coast.
Yeah, and as they call it lately.
I
hope everyone
is safe.
I know some of you aren't, and I'm sending you massive healing vibes and
rain.
Yeah.
Now is the time.
Let's chant, pray, send vibes.
Manifest. Do whatever you can. Send rain to the West Coast because that is
the
entire
West Coast has needed rain. I think, for the exception of like Arizona.
Well, Arizona always
it's not
needs
the
rain.
West. Well, Arizona always needs rain. But the entire West Coast, we've needed rain. And it's been exceptionally dry.
But I am so excited to talk about sexual healing because this is something that I have been passionate about my entire life. And this is just fun. But do you want to take it away with an intro?
Yeah. Here we go. When the world's going crazy and you don't know what to do, just look at it. I said when the world's going crazy and you don't know what to do, just look at it.
Woo! I am so excited because sex and sexual healing is something that is connected for everyone. Like it's
connected to everything too.
Because we are by nature sexual beings, and your money is tied to it. Your happiness is tied to it. Your emotional freedom is tied to it.
Every relationship and how you relate to people, especially
your mindset is connected to it. Like
especially when you're leading people.
Well,
when
you're
people
always
are
leading
relying
people
on you. I know, like that's what
like
life
if
is.
You're a parent, people are relying on you. Like but that connection to your own sexuality and to a connected sexuality is so incredibly important. And this is actually one of the reasons, like being in the sex industry for over 4 years and then becoming non-sexual because I was just too hurt. I really just needed a connection. That's what I needed. And that's why our marriage, a monogamous relationship, has really been important to me because I need connection. I need trust. I need depth. And there really is so much to sexual healing. And all morning I was like, Marvin Gaye, there we are. Like that's...
Oh, baby.
Yeah. You could keep singing. It would be okay.
Oh. Yeah.
And go ahead.
What I think is amazing is that I've had something that a lot of people haven't. And then I don't realize that I have it. And man, years ago, I used to do recovery groups, and the most common thing was this guilt around sex. And I didn't understand it exactly, except I felt it earlier on. And as I look back, I go, what really, really helped is to realize that sex is not just this separate thing when you're in a long-term relationship where you just have sex and then it's over and you have a release and then it's okay again. Or it's not okay again. It's more like it's a challenge. It's a challenge for you to open up And when we began to challenge each other to open up when we felt uncomfortable because we had trauma from our past, or we just were experimenting and we didn't know how to relate or to connect, that commitment, that just doing it, like really putting yourself in that vulnerable place over and over again, like it feels painful because you're not used to it, but it's incredible to see what happens on the other side.
It's
like
the safety.
Yeah.
It's the trust that happens. And to me, because I had so much abuse and so much confusion and yet so much power in my sexuality, I didn't really know how to harness it and then how to use it for healing, because it is like the most vulnerable spaces and the most vulnerable place. And when that has been a hurt because of trauma, because of abuse, it's like, how do you let someone in to, like, it's easy to just have sex. Like anybody can just, like, not anybody, but you can just do it. But it's another thing to go to the depth of your heart, to go to the depth of trust, to the depth of who you are, and really have compassion and care for each other in a way that is healing.
Yeah.
And sex impacts every area of your life. And what has always been mind-blowing to me is how our culture has separated sex and money. And unless you have experiences in the sex industry, I'm not sure that that's really a predominant thought. But it's so true how your sexual connection is directly connected to your money, your provision, how you feel about yourself, your confidence. And it's really this holistic thing. Yeah. But it's because, like, you got here by someone having sex. Thus far, there are no humans who have been cloned that are like living and adults in society. Every single one of us got here through sex. And yet in our culture—
If you got here by any other means, I'm sorry.
Right, please let us know.
Let us know. Let us know where you're from, because that'd be interesting too, to see what planet that is.
If you are watching this and you did not arrive to this planet by means of sex, please comment and let us know. Because that's how it happens. And yet we lack the connection. And lacking that connection means that we lack the connection to ourselves and to the world around us, the provision, the abundance in your life. And so being able to, deeply connect with intimacy. It's not just sex. Sex is just one portion of the act. It's the connection, the trust, the intimacy, the care, and then how you connect to each other before, during, and after. Because so many times when there is trauma, you have to learn how to do it differently. Yeah. And to learn how to do it differently, you need to be able to have someone that it has compassion towards you and you have compassion towards them, and you work through it together. Because there have been so many times early in our marriage where I couldn't do certain positions. I couldn't allow certain things to happen. I couldn't trust, I couldn't release, which meant I couldn't orgasm at certain times, or I would just orgasm too fast because I was just trying to be done because I didn't want the vulnerability. Yeah. And it's that in that vulnerable space with trust that changes everything. And I think what really bothers me about relationships, and it's not just marriage, because you don't have to be married to be in a committed relationship, but it's the commitment to someone else where you're really working through it together, because that's why consent is so important. When something feels off, when you feel that energy and it's like, not quite right, it's okay to just stop and be like, okay, let's just work through this right now and try again in 10 minutes, try again tomorrow, try again some other time. But it's that intimate space. There were so many times early in our marriage where I just couldn't do it. And I would just lay it. My favorite spot is I put my head right here because he's so much bigger than me, and I just curl up next to him, and that's my safe space. And having that safe space provided for me allowed me to become more vulnerable and allowed me to open up in a different way. and create a safe space for him to be able to open up.
Yeah.
And that,
yeah, it's so beautiful. I remember like early on in a relationship where I would orgasm and never ever experienced it like that before. And afterward, I'd feel guilt. And I go, why do I feel this guilt? And as I was in recovery groups, I would ask that question. And it was after I wasn't feeling guilt.
mm-hmm.
And I heard all these different views. And what I learned was that most people don't talk about it. Like they don't talk in relationships about like what happens when there's guilt and where does that guilt come from?
Right.
And it's really incredible to be able to just talk about it, hit it head on. And I'm telling you, when you hit it head on, it's like it just gives you permission to explore one another, like here, and your bodies, like just your mind and your body just become like this wonderland. And instead
of
it,
connection.
Yeah, instead of it being like, oh my goodness, like that's just as far as I can, I only do this, I only do that. Like, what makes me sad is that, and I can say I'm really grateful I've never had this opportunity, is that there's so many people exploring all of these kinks, if you will, that have nothing to do with the vulnerability of what's keeping them from having better sex and from having better orgasms and having better intimate and emotional connection during or after sex. Like if you're able to deal with that guilt, man, like, and then it not be a problem anymore. Right. It's like there's so much healing that comes from just holding each other and feeling each other's bodies and just being in that moment.
It's the vulnerability. I think because there's nothing wrong with kinks, like that. It's whatever a person loves, but what is missing is the vulnerability side, and that it's whatever is consensual, and that's cool. But when you lack the vulnerability, it means that we search and explore for different things to fill that void. And if the void isn't being filled with vulnerability and connection, then we will continue exploring. And the problem that comes from that is that you never really truly find this joy, this happiness that really transforms your life in all the abundance, in all the different ways, because that is what makes it so powerful.
Yeah, I feel like we've gone down all different paths of trying different kinks and everything, but in the process, we challenged ourselves to grow closer emotionally and intellectually in the process, like really understand why we're doing it. And I think that's what changed everything for us and kept us together through some of the toughest times where we were living in tents. And this was part of the story I told yesterday. I know I told a really long story yesterday. But that was one of our moments of realizing that we have a lot of power together and that we can use our minds and our intentions to like keep ourselves warm. We literally kept ourselves warm that night. And I was afraid Jess was going to freeze to death. She was shaking.
I get cold. I get so cold. I feel like my soul is frozen. Yeah, you know what? That is a really fascinating story to me, because while we were living in tents and everything was just chaos, we kept trying to connect sexually and kept wanting to come together because we knew that there was so much freedom in that. And so that story where we set up the tent, we set up this big tent, we made this platform bed, like the pallet beds that you see on Pinterest. We hung up all the white Christmas lights, put the mattress on top. We were just trying to create this oasis. And yet it was so incredibly cold. I could not, neither of us could even function. Like my soul just froze, like the innermost parts of my being.
There was even,
And-
we even had this like dish space heater sitting on the floor, and it was like, it felt like I was doing nothing. It was just,
It was so cold. And that night we used, we have a class called Activating the Fantasy, but we used this thing that we had used for sexual healing, for fantasy, for connecting, for manifesting, for really being together. We used it to actually stay warm. And it was that same philosophy that actually helped us rise to get here.
yeah.
But it's the connection, it's the vulnerability. And sexual abuse is actually really similar to all the other types of abuse, whether it's emotional, physical, spiritual, like whatever type of abuse it is. When you go deep to the vulnerability of sexual healing and connection together, it radically changes everything, because all of the other abuses can be healed through that sexual connection.
Yeah.
Because we're designed to be interdependent instead of codependent. And when we really look at the sexual connection, it transforms the rest of our life. And so I think that's why in my life I looked so deeply and for so long at sexual healing, because it was like I knew it was just deeply tied to everything else I did. It's like I could be, when I had that type of healing, I was more confident in who I was. I was able to be not just a better partner, but a better wife, or a better parent, a better business person. I was able to think more clearly. I was able to focus and have confidence to do things that I didn't know I could even do, because I had this established trust. I had this established connection, and I knew that no matter what, I have this guy by my side.
Yeah.
And that is something that I have not been able to find in any other type of healing, in any other type of system, because it's a connection.
It's not just a release, it's a connection.
Right.
When you can like stick it out and really believe that it can be incredible, like when you believe that your sex together will be incredible, you just know it will. When you're committed and you just believe, and then you work through the triggers, you work through those issues where it's just like, oh my God, like I can't, but you know you can because you believe.
Right, because you look around and you're like, you just look at it. You're like, oh, I'm safe now. This isn't the person who raped me. This isn't the person who did things to me. This person is caring for me. And there were so many times that was what carried me through. I would just like curl up and I would be like, you're not the one. You're not the one. You're not the one. And that meant he was the one to help me find that freedom, to help me find that trust and that vulnerability and that care, because he wasn't the one that hurt me. And that allowed me to be open. But it's not like I had never been hurt by our sex. There were many times where it was like, that just wasn't right. I checked out. I just let you finish. Like it's really easy to come above and hover when you have had a lot of abuse and you're not thinking of yourself. And that's why caring for yourself while caring for another person and doing it together is so important. Because I wish I would have learned years and years, like in the first year or two of our marriage, how important it was to be able to just stop it. Just like if something's not going right then, just be like, it's okay, I can stop right now. But I didn't feel like I had permission. When we gave each other permission, and it was probably like a year, 2 years in, and really started just being like, okay, if there's any hint of it's not right or you're not feeling good, let's just stop right now. And then work through it. That was so powerful. And really, that's been the process of our journey, is really helping people come alive sexually over years. And because it was all rooted in abuse.
There's this stop and go process that takes place in the beginning that's good. If you think about it, when we're doing anything else in life, we know that there's going to be bumps along the way, but there's this sexual expectation within our culture in the US where it's just like it's either awesome or it's shit. Like it's either really good or you don't have it. You don't have the stamina, you don't have the passion, you don't have the ability to pull it off.
Right.
And it's like that with men and women. Like just Google search. I know, why am I looking at that?
You're staring at yourself.
I know, I'm looking at you.
You can
I'm
look
looking
at me
at
right
Jess.
here.
Okay. Hi, Jess.
Hi.
So I'm looking at, if you Google search, it's getting better, but man, back
Google search
when
what?
I was trying to understand sexuality, I would Google search back in 2005 and 6 and just be like how to have sex without feeling shitty afterward. How to have sex without feeling guilty afterward. And I would try to solve the problem, and what I would get was how to have stamina in bed. And so it would lead me down this path of all I have to do is do these physical things, and then it would say things like regular date nights are good. Just dropping hints like that. I'm just like, I don't even understand, because I'm looking at I feel horrified, and they're saying all you have to do is have better stamina by doing these things. Work out regularly, drink water. And it's like, I drink water. I've been drinking water all of my life. In fact, that's probably why I'm still alive. And
drink more water.
Yeah.
Drink water and you will be
Everyone
healed.
told me that growing up too, where I was around water drinkers. So, but it didn't help.
Right.
But times have changed, and there's actually a lot of help out there. There's a lot of hints. There's a lot of good shit when you Google things now, where it's like,
but you know what?
It starts to point you in the right direction.
It starts, but
the
it's
problem
not.
is,
Yeah. Okay.
the problem is it doesn't address trauma very well.
Right.
Most of the advice just doesn't address trauma. I swear I won't look at it. I'll put it up. Okay.
We just can't see any comments.
Yeah. It's that we just look at it like it's this cut and dry thing, and it's like, no, every part of your relationship you have to work on. But when it comes to sex, we're like, it's either good or it's bad, Either do it or
I
you
want
don't.
to challenge something, because I think so many people say they have good sex, and then once I really go deep and start talking to them, they had wild sex. And wild sex and good sex are two totally different things.
Explain, Jess.
Okay, so a wild sex is just tons of fun, this amazing experience. It was just you had this rush. It may have happened multiple times. It was all of the endorphins, because that's normal. And you have all these endorphins and it feels great. And wild sex is great, but you can have wild sex while having this deep connection, because the deep connection is what makes sex really, really wild. And it's a release that I think most people haven't experienced, or they have experienced it a few times, and then they spend the rest of their life trying to chase that type of intimacy. And it was really funny. The first time I ever had sex like that, I was on ecstasy. And it was because I was finally able to release the shame. Drugs helped me.
So you weren't focusing.
I wasn't focusing on my shame. I wasn't focusing on abuse and all of these other things. And the ecstasy just allowed me to let the walls down and have this really spiritual connection. Hey, Christy, have this really deep spiritual connection with sex. But then we really hated each other. It was not Reed. And he broke things all the time. Hi, Jesse. And so that was a problem in and of itself, because our relationship wasn't there. And the only way we could do it was when we were doing ecstasy together. And so but I had that thing in my head that I knew how good it could be. But I also didn't trust him. And I was like, how is it possible to
trust
someone?
Well,
the dude looks more. Wow. Oh, Bubba.
Oh,
Bubba, you are so adorable.
Are you talking about me?
Right, you look more like a chick than the chick. Oh, you know what? This is wonderful.
I wish this
I'll
wasn't on Facebook because I would just totally flash you right now. Just to show you
Sex
how
is
much.
great. Yes,
Yeah.
Christy. Yeah, the other day I was doing a live and my very first comment was like, yeah, Bobo, not a freaking chance in the entire universe. Yeah, nice try.
I have a mastermind for you
Right.
that has
You
to
want
do
to
with
join us?
dealing with these issues head on. No innuendos included in that statement.
Reed, I do believe you were experiencing what a woman experiences online. So I'm doing a live the other day, and the very first commenter
This is
says,
the only.
"Show me your breasts," and I'm like, "Are you freaking serious?" Like,
But this is a really good point. I know we're laughing, but I want to
Right.
bring this up because
okay,
I've had times where this has happened, where I've been on stage playing my music and just la 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 playing. Normally, it's a sexual song that I'm
Mhm.
playing. Something like I'm singing Marvin Gaye, or I'm doing something that's. And I have somebody who gets really angry, who goes, "You are such a woman." Like, and I'm just like, wow, I never like realized that.
right.
But then
Can you just stand up for a minute? Because so, like, this is why he sits.
your mouth says no. My eyes always say yes.
Yeah, they do.
So in that moment, I realized when I just catered to the person a little bit, and it was a very male-looking person, very masculine-looking person. I realized that they were just extremely bisexual, and they would just like tell me that they're bisexual, and they would cry. And I'm like, I don't know why that happened exactly, but when I leaned into it and said it's okay
Mhm.
to like have these feelings and be jealous or be angry and have it all at the same time,
Right.
that all of those feelings are trying to tell you something, that there's sexual healing that needs to happen.
Oh, well, you were just getting yourself blocked, I'm quite certain.
Pretty
yeah.
much.
Yeah,
Pretty
at the
much.
moment I'm off of StreamYard, it's going down. But you know what? You
How
were
do I
making for
block-
some hysterical commentary because you were just showing all of your meat.
Right, sure.
Christy. Yeah, it is wild. And you know what this...
What is a Combi van? Should I be even thinking about what this could be? I'm just like, thank you.
Don't plug him, it's funny. Oh no, we can't. We're on StreamYard, so it will be afterward.
Yeah.
But you know what? This
But look,
is why we
now
need...
he's just kidding.
Right. This is why
how it always
we need
goes down.
sexual healing.
Yes.
Because there is... So we are so sexual in nature. It's who we are. That's how we got here. And you have to... it's connected to everything, and if you don't work through it, you're going to be navigating through life like a raging heart on, going, how the hell do I handle this? What do I do now? Where am I going? And it's like there is so much confidence in being comfortable in your own sexuality, in your relationship, and then it impacts your finances, it impacts your family, it helps everything all the way around because you feel good about who you are. Exactly, we're primates. And we put the call out. If there's anyone who arrived here to the land of the living without your parents having sex, please let us know, because this is how our species continues. And without it, like, we just stop. But we do it mindlessly.
There's actually another way. It's called in vitro fertilization.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Just to let you know, Jess.
But no, there is in vitro, but it still takes
something happening.
Like, something has to happen.
Yeah, we don't need to get that technical right now.
Right.
Here's what I realized.
Typically, people who have had in vitro have tried to have sex, have babies for many years. Like as a coach, I've worked with lots of people who have struggled with infertility issues, and it is incredibly heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I myself didn't know that I could have kids, ended up having major hormonal problems from being raped and abused for so long. Once my hormones were balanced, I couldn't stop having kids.
Good point.
And,
Mother Mary, Immaculate Conception. Like, we celebrate this stuff.
Right.
For realsy.
Well, and that is if, in fact, you believe in Mother Mary. And so now we get into spiritual beliefs because our spiritual beliefs have a lot to do with our sexuality. And that's where, honestly, spiritual things is why we have so much shame around sex. And it's like impossible.
Generally, that's what I've seen.
Right. You have to bring those two together and identify and pull them apart and look at it. That's why the show is called Just Look at It. Because what we believe about sex, what we believe about our sexuality is intimately connected to our, it's connected to our spiritual beliefs.
Yeah.
And if our spiritual beliefs are rooted in shame around sex, then it's you have to do more sexual healing. And that's kind of, it's fun. I think that so many times healing is thought of as difficult or hard or not hard.
Right. more hard.
I was making innuendos. Did you not catch that?
Yeah, I did. That's why I was playing into it. Years ago, I had a boss that really made me feel uncomfortable every single day. Not only did he struggle with sex and was very open about it. I don't know why he was so open about it. That was the only thing he was open about. He was also really fond of like throwing people under the bus, if you will, when they screwed up their job. And he would just like 50 questions. He would just come at you like, why did it take so long? Why did you do it this way? Well, it took this long because of this, but why did it take so long? Why didn't you have that person? Why didn't you call me? Because I couldn't get a hold of you. Why didn't you get a hold of me? And so it was this really awkward situation, and it was really difficult.
I'm super excited. Pause. We're about to go into bestiality. So
I think this person, I don't know who you are, but I'm not really wanting to go into that. We don't have enough time. Thank you. But
I can do it in 2 seconds.
No, you don't. Stop.
Please.
Stop. Sorry. I wanted to get to the point of what I was talking about because it's more important than what Bobo O'Sullivan has to.
Okay, you get to your point, and then can I have 2 sentences, please?
Absolutely,
okay,
of course.
You make your point, and then I'll make mine.
The point is we were really focusing on our intimacy around the time, and when we addressed our what was holding us back sexually, and we were really having great sex for like months. And it was just like regular routine, and we were really working on it. I had a lot of confidence. And I remember one morning I had really great sex with you. And he was just, how you getting, what about the job yesterday? And then,
Your boss was saying
and
that?
I remember just being like, everything is under control. If you don't feel it's that way, maybe it's your problem. And I walked away. Literally just stood up to him. If you feel that it's out of control, it's not me, because I've got this. It could be you.
Right.
And that changed our dynamics. I think I got laid off about 3 months later, but there was this dynamic shift where he wasn't riding my back anymore. It was just like, he was like more respectful.
Right.
And I believe it came from really having sexual healing to the point where it was like, on a regular basis, we were really just like leaning into each other, and we were really just like experiencing power from our sexuality.
Right. Right.
There is really like, there's power in your sexuality, and it's not.
That's the perfect segue.
About, yeah.
Can I take the segue?
Yes, you can. I have no idea why.
Okay. So here's a segue. Okay. Because bestiality, good old Bobo just brought that in. That has been on the rise. Like, I've been watching sexual trends in culture and society for like 25 years now. And so bestiality is something that is hugely on the rise. And it makes so much sense to me because it's about a lack of connection to other humans.
Yeah.
When you have so much confusion, so much pain, so much hurt around intimacy, connection, and trust, you end up doing exactly what I did before I met Reed. Absolutely, I'm non-sexual, and being non-sexual cuts you off, but yet you're still sexual. And so you go towards things that are not human because things that are not human have not provided the abuse.
Oh.
And so it loops right back around. So it's like, while to me, I'm like, but I also go, yeah, I understand why people do it, because they're so hurt by every relationship in their life that they cannot be vulnerable with humans.
Especially.
Doesn't make it okay, kind of weird, but it makes it understandable. Yeah, Christy, bestiality is a thing.
Is it a thing? Yes.
Yeah, it's people screw animals. It's weird. But it's because of pain and trust and like that.
We've actually helped people who have been victims to bestiality in porn. And we know several, we've known.
Because I worked with trafficking survivors.
People. So there's a lot of interesting things that you come across. And there's a lot of things that are more common than we realize. And
it all comes back to vulnerability.
It comes back to vulnerability. But I like what you said, and it's actually something I had studied in the past, where it's like, why do people just choose certain things instead of like having sex with humans? Like they choose having sex with animals, or just like I only inflict pain on myself in order to get off, or I only do certain things, like I only like have sex with a statue or something because it's the only thing that gives me like connection. Like literally people are just looking for a connection. When you study it, people are just looking for that connection. They're trying to reconcile being a sexual being while being so hurt sexually. Yeah.
Christy, I am the author of Everything I Know I Learned from My Pimp. I am a trafficking survivor and former sex worker. But we ran a nonprofit for a number of years, have been coaching for 20 years, and really in working with complex trauma survivors, trafficking survivors, you really, you hear things that you didn't know existed. Because the depth of ugly in this world is, I have to say, the truth really is stranger than fiction. The stories that I've heard from survivors are more grotesque than any horror film that I have ever heard of. And it is absolutely shocking, the realities that some people live with. And, it just is what it is. But that's why my journey and our journey for healing for us, but then also for those that we help, and really just saying to people, like there's another option. You don't have to be stuck in the sexual pain that influences everything else in your life. There is another option. And it does require work and it does require healing, but it can be the most fun healing in the world, because when you start with that sexual root and then you establish trust and connection within it, everything else blossoms from that.
I'm really glad that you brought up that root issue.
Oh, thank you, Brooke. Oh,
thank you. I like that you brought up the root issue. Jess and I teach that we're all trees. We all have limbs, we all have trunks, and we all have these roots. And we have these issues out here that are really obvious. You know, it's like the things we do every day that everybody can see or we can see. It's our habits. And then there's this deep part of us, it's our trunk. And that's where there's those rings. If you think about a tree, like year after year, you can actually look at a tree and you can see its history based on its rings.
And those are our experiences in our trunk.
You can actually see the stress and the pain the tree has gone through by looking at its core. You can, this is like tree scientists. That's how they study a tree.
But a tree has a heartwood too.
And the heartwood is in the center.
That is something.
And so at the center of everything is our heart. It's our intentions that we've had, and they play out through our experiences. And so we have these experiences, and it's, you know, when you feel like you've gotten stabbed in the back or whatever, or whatever happens, you'll feel it in there. For instance, when we were having sex and I felt like smells were bothering me. That was one of the first things that I struggled with sex. And I was a virgin except being sexually assaulted at 4 years old. And so, and being fondled since I could remember some of my first memories. And so it was like, I was a virgin, but I wasn't a virgin. So there was confusion around that when we first started, but it was the smells, and it was like, I couldn't smell myself. I couldn't smell my own
stuff,
my own response to sex, like everything, like, and I was like, how am I going to deal with this? And I couldn't smell you. And I was just like, and then I realized, where did the smell come from? And I went to the root of it, and I realized it was very deep, and it was in this trunk, and it was in my memories. And when I went deep enough, I went all the way down to the root. And I said, even though the memories are here and they feel like they're going to kill me, and I'm never going to be able to have good sex, and I'm never going to be able to connect, I'm never going to be able to take care of my wife, and I really want to, because I feel the connection and want to do it, I was able to see, oh, like I only have that repulsive nature because of what I experienced. And when I was able to just admit that and look at it, I was able to go, okay, let's start out like being really clean, and let's just like trim ourselves up, make ourselves really clean, and really try. And it was hard, it was vulnerable, but I realized that it was easy to release when we both gave each other permission to let it be awkward. It's okay to be awkward and address something, because on the other side, it's incredible. The power that I feel like I received from being able to take care of you and give you like massive, incredible, connected orgasms was like, it was my permission to be able to be taken care of as well. Like, I was not comfortable with oral sex. And I feel like we need a giant warning on this. I'm going to go back and put, this is
big
huge warning.
Sexual content. We did title it Sexual Healing. So,
yeah.
like,
and I'm blocking you, by the way, Bobo.
No, you know what?
On the end, or maybe we'll just
wait.
like,
This is crazy because
just because of Facebook laws and stuff.
I just want to know. I bet Chewbacca has a massive penis. Just so you know. That would be my guess. You know what, guys? We are way over. This is normally a 30-minute show, but we have had such a good time.
I just want to let you know that I do have a mastermind for people who are business people who are likely in a monogamous relationship, or you can be single. Doesn't matter your sexual orientation, where you're from, who you know, like,
or even your gender.
Or even your gender.
A mixed group.
It's really it's a co-ed group. I've had the best results in the past with co-ed groups because people aren't comparing. I don't know how else to say it except swinging their lack of penis or penis size. There's not this comparison that happens in co-ed groups, and there's deeper healing that happens. And I want to invite you to that group.
There's only 5 spots.
There's only 5 spots,
and it starts beginning of October.
It is intensive healing, and we deal with everything. We really do a holistic approach to healing. I love you guys. Thank you for hanging out with us.
You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful day.
See you next time.
We will see you tomorrow morning.